should put the pressure on your promoter and say, I will be fighting for the world title, a world title in the next few months.
Well, why don't we put the promoter there so you can do it?
Well, bottom line is this, is that we're working hard out to get this opportunity for Joe down here. We, as a company, would love to be part of history and bring a world title fight here. It's never happened before. I don't think there was never been a media event of this magnitude. And Martin Snednover was involved in putting together the Rugby World Cup. And there's no doubt that was a huge, probably the biggest media event from a sports perspective this country's ever seen. But let's be honest, you know, rugby union's followed in 12 countries around the world of any size. You know, boxing's followed and participated in by 180 countries around the world. And this is the world's oldest sporting trophy, so, or one of the world's oldest sporting trophies. And certainly, it's the, you know, it's the holy grail of all sports. Once upon a time, the heavyweight champion was the most known man in the world. We've, you know, made some, right from the start, our intention was to get Joseph into this position. We couldn't be in a better position. You know, we're number one in the WBO, we're number one in the IBF, we're mandatory in the IBF. The absolute worst outcome we could get, which is a real positive, is that in March we fight the winner of Klitschko versus Joshua. How good's that going to be for a unified title? The best outcome we can get is in December we fight Andrew Ruiz down here, and I'm in ongoing discussions with Bob Arum. I think we're close. And now I've just been running around for the last week getting together sponsors, because this is not going to be an easy exercise. We're getting together people that can make this happen from a financial point of view as well. So, you know, we're well positioned to do this. We've been doing this stuff now for between Dave and myself and Martin for a good 20, 25 years. We've got one of the best media men, probably not only in the country, but, you know, in the world, to be doing what we're doing. And we're just going to do this to the best of our ability. And we're going to show, I think we've got a talent here out of South Auckland that is second to none from a worldwide boxing perspective, and we'd like to show as a company that we're just as good as he is outside of the ring.
Why is it going to take so long?
I can't speak for them, Sav. They've obviously got processes in place, and I guess they take these things very seriously. If you have a look at the, if you have a look what Tyson's already said, if they strip me, I'm taking him to court. Now, the last thing the BO want to do is end up in litigation for a very long time. One, that's expensive, and two, you know, Fury hasn't fought for 11 months. These sanctioning bodies get their money from sanctioning fees. Now, one of the biggest divisions in the world in terms of revenue generation is the heavyweight division. And when you do a sanctioning fee at that level, they take a percentage of purse. These are things Joseph knows nothing about because we have to pay those fees. But that's okay. So that's how they get their money. So, you know, if your heavyweight guys on the shelf for 12 months have had no revenue coming from the heavyweight division, literally it's costing them, you know, maybe 7 figures amounts of money, they want to move on. But there's also a process that has to take place, and we hate talking about processes, but that's just the way it is if you want to avoid long litigation.
So how confident are you that that belt's going to be...
If you've had 3 or 4, it's just 2.
So how confident are you that the WBO belt will be available by the date you're proposing?
I'd like to think so. I can't put any guarantees on it. All I can tell you is this, is that you'll see that, and I've explained this to a lot of you media before, basically we promoters, the likes of, you know, Duco Events and Eddie Hearn at Matchroom and Birnbomb and Bob Arum, we're customers of the sanctioning bodies, and we supply their revenue. So the way business works all around the world is the people who are the biggest customers get the most amount of say. Now, Duco's fairly new on the scene, and we've paid a reasonable amount of money in sanctioning fees. Eddie Hearn's a lot bigger. I saw Andrew Mulligan the other day. Said Eddie Hearn's got the clout. Well, I'll tell you what, we're aligning ourselves with the biggest gorilla in the room, and Bob Arum, who has 10 times the clout of Eddie Hearn. And the reason we're doing that is, one, he's a promoter of Andrew Ruiz, but two, if you're going to join forces with someone and have a say, wouldn't you join with the biggest guy on the block? Now, Arum's been 50 years as a promoter. He's done the world's biggest fights for the last 50 years. He's put the most amount of money into the coffers of the WBO. Him and Parker, I understand, talk on a regular basis, Parker being the president of the WBO. So we're going to be using Bob's relationship as leverage to get done what we want to get done. And what we want to get done is create history and come down here for the heavyweight championship of the world, in an ideal world in Auckland City, and show the world just how good we can be.
Would and could that fight against Ruiz go ahead if the belt wasn't on the line?
There is zero reason to fight Andy Ruiz if that doesn't go ahead. And as I said to you, if we can't make the Andy Ruiz fight for the World Heavyweight Championship, what we'll do is that we will fight a 6'6" guy who just happens to be the same size as Vladimir Klitschko and the same size as Anthony Joshua. We'll fight him in December in preparation, and then we'll go to either Germany or England and we will knock one of those two out.
Dean, you're going to the WBO conference, which is October 17, 18. That's where it's likely to be announced the Fury decision on his belt. Does that leave you enough time to organise things here? Does it leave Joe enough time to get ready for the fight?
Firstly, it leaves any fight that takes place would be around December, you know, and if we have to, we can push that out to any date we choose. That's number one. Number two, this company is very experienced at what we do. You know, we've got great guys who really know what they're doing. Christ, we've got a guy over there who ran 500 employees and ran the Rugby World Cup, you know, putting on over 26 or 36 games, whatever it was, bringing in thousands of people from around the world. I don't think that putting on a heavyweight title is anything logistically as big as that. And it's in a, you know, we've got a group of people who are good at what they do. So the answer is yes, we can do it, and we can do it in a heartbeat. My job is to run around and, you know, get the sponsorship on board, which we're doing right now. And we're going to be ready in probably a week and a half to put the final offer to Bob Arum, if we can come to agreement, and then hopefully sign Joseph up, and away we go.
Have you had any contact with Bob Arum in the last 12 hours?
Not the last 12. Bob's in Macau at the moment, travelling to China, and he's been difficult to track down. I've been talking to his matchmaker, Bruce Trampler, who's well known sort of in the world of boxing, you know, and he's been my conduit to speaking with Bob last Saturday. So, you know, my understanding, because we've got people who are close to him, we're very close, and hopefully we'll get a deal with Bob tied up soon. But again, it's all irrelevant unless we're fighting for the world title, and that's going to come down to October 17 and that convention I'll be going to. I went to my first convention, I think it was in Miami, Florida, or no, Orlando, Florida last year. And, you know, as a result of meeting people and having the discussions we have and the fights that we have, we managed to get Joe to the #1 position of the WBO, which when you think about the fact that he was ahead and has been ahead of Vladimir Klitschko for the last 8 months, it's pretty, you know, it's a pretty unbelievable result.
Because you're having to go this time, do you expect a bit of a fight to get that BO belt released?
Like I said, we're siding with the biggest promoter in the world, and they're keen as mustard to make sure that it happens. You know, so I would expect we're going to get the outcome we're looking for. There's no guarantees in this. You know, this is the first time we've been through this, and we're negotiating our way through it. I've got to be honest, it's an exciting time, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And if we can pull this off, it'll probably be nothing short of a miracle, but I think we can do it. And mate, we can sit here in front of you guys and legitimately bring you a world heavyweight title fight, and hopefully at the end of it, we'll be holding the new heavyweight champions hand high in the ring.
Craig mentioned that Eddie Hearn seemed to be distancing himself a bit from the WBO belt now. I mean, what's the rationale there?
Well, I think Eddie knows we might have trumped him. Mr. Mulligan, if you're around.
When do you expect an announcement from Eddie Hearn on who Joshua's fighting next? Because the clock is ticking for him as well.
Look, that's a good question. I think, look, Eddie's been incredibly smart in this whole thing. And what he's doing, because whenever you put a promotion together, right, you have to, one, have a TV deal in place. Well, he's got that. Two, he's got long-term existing sponsors. So the next cab, once you've got those two locked in place, the next cab off the rank is to sell the event out. Whether he fights Vladimir Klitschko or whether he fights Joe Parker, but I'd say they're going to be fighting Klitschko, that event sells out in that arena in no more than 5 minutes because of the amazing job that he's done to promote this fight before it even goes on sale. And then your next job is to blow it up as big as you possibly can in the media to try and blow out the pay-per-view revenues. Now, if they bring on board German TV with Klitschko, that's basically a subscription TV deal. There's a set amount of money comes to the table. The majority of their money will come out of the English TV market. Eddie's already talked about the fact that it'll be the biggest pay-per-view show of all time in England. I'd probably agree with him. Ricky Hatton against Floyd Mayweather, probably going back 8 to 9 years ago, did 1.25 million buys. I would expect it'll go well in advance of that. So Eddie can make this happen. Klitschko's training right now, Joshua's training right now, so why not November 26th? The only reason they'll push it out is because they think they need more time to either A, get more sponsors on board, which they probably could, and B, to blow up the pay-per-view because it's going to bring more media to the table. But I've got to say, I've been watching Eddie Hearn very closely for the last 2 to 3 months, and, you know, there's a couple of things he's done that we didn't do, but learned a lot out of it, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe we should do that as well. So he's a smart cat.
Do you think he'll announce it in a week or so?
I only know what the media tells, what I read in the media, and what he tells the media. And one of the things he does very well, and a lot of you guys should get onto this if you're not already, he has a cameraman with him close to 24 hours a day and talks to him on a regular basis. It goes up on a thing called ILTV. And, mate, you can get a Hearn dialogue at any stage of the day, you know, from the day before, so you can see what he's thinking. He's very good at it.
Should we do the same with you?
No.
No. Mate, Eddie obviously, you know, he's a media machine. I actually have to help out and work in the business as well. But he does a good job.
When you want standards with your 24/7.
No.
No, there's a point too.
Explain why Joseph isn't ranked at all really by the BA.
Yeah, we haven't pursued it. You know, we started off sanctioning with the WBA, and we found that they weren't an organisation that we necessarily wanted to deal with, so we stopped sanctioning with them properly about a year ago. And you know, he floats around number 9 down there. We use the other 3 organisations. We just like their transparency.